On this episode of the John 1911 podcast, James Yeager and the Queen. 1911 Jam video informs Ferrari makes an SUV and 7,000 donkey penises. Okay, good morning everybody. This is Danny and Marky, and this is episode 271 of the John 1911 podcast. Today is September 14th, about 10:56 a.m. I guess this is Wednesday morning, right? I think I had the wrong day the last time we did pod, so how have you been?
I'm in mourning. My Union Jack is flying at half-mast.
The Queen?
Well, no, long live the king. 70 years old and he finally gets a job.
73.
Wow, yeah.
So, and the thing is, if you think about it, you know what? Let me just back up off this for a minute and let me just make some comments here before we get deep into the Queen. People arguing about the Queen of England who don't live in England and never really paid attention to the Queen of England and actually getting into all these debates about the Queen as just an excuse to be ugly or unkind, to me is really just another example of so they can make it about them. And I'm actually reminded of this because we didn't talk about it on pod, and I think it's worth mentioning, especially in relative to the Queen, is James Yeager. And James Yeager, for those of you, most people listening to this podcast will know who James Yeager is. He was a gun guy. He was a private military contractor, and he was a trainer. And he founded and ran a training facility that is still operating in Camden, Tennessee, called Tactical Response. And I have intentionally not talked about James because, number one, I never met the man. And number two, if you look at his final wishes, he laid out some things that he didn't want done. He didn't want people to be sad. He didn't want people to commemorate his birthday or his death day, especially on the internet, because he felt it was more about making it about them. Danny, you're breathing in your microphone, by the way. So,
okay, how's that better?
That's a lot better. So, okay, so it's making it about them, and it's virtue signaling. And James really recognized that. He recognized online virtue signaling, and so we haven't really published anything about it. We put up a video on our Facebook page from Tactical Response with no comment because James wanted no comment. And so, I'm gonna say this. And why am I talking about James Yeager when we're talking about the Queen? Because number one, I think for Americans, I think James Yeager is more important to the everyday American who may not even know who James Yeager was than the Queen ever will be. And again, I have to say, full disclosure, I don't know James Yeager. I've never met James Yeager. Where I used to work, we certainly knew James Yeager as an entity, and he knew us, and there was a lot of communication there and a lot of friendship, professional and personal. But I never knew the man. I never really moved into circles. But, I've known of James for so long that I remember when James was basically, and I'm saying this to educate people, just to make a point here. I'm giving James a compliment, but you got to bear with me. I remember when James was. This was before. I think this was before 9/11. I remember when James Yeager was, and I'm not. He was a not respected person who posted videos and photographs of photographers at his training facility downrange taking pictures back at the shooter. So bullets were flying past photographers. And I remember everybody just howling because it dogpiled on the internet. No one knew who he was. And he wasn't the James Yeager of 2022. He was the James Yeager of 2000. And I don't remember the year this actually happened, but let's just say it was 2000. Maybe it was 99. I mean, it could have been 2002, but that's just whatever it was. And a lot of people today who use his death to virtue signal or to make a point and try to actually praise him, which I think they should, are the same people that shit on him 20-some years ago or longer when this kind of stuff happened. And when you say that, when you realize that, and James understood this, if you read, I really think it's worth it's worth it to the listener to go and find a note that was read by his family on his, not his will, but his final wishes to the public about how he should be treated and thought about, and how he expected people to behave relative to him and his memory. And it was very inspiring, and it really aligned with a lot of how I feel about a lot of things. And so James Yeager, many years ago, was not a well-respected person. But over time, history has shown us that James Yeager, in many ways, led the way. Now, I'm not saying this because I'm trying to put on airs and talk about James Yeager, because we're talking about the Queen of England. And James Yeager didn't want people talking about him who didn't know him. And I never knew James Yeager. So I'm hoping what I say here hits home with those of you who knew James Yeager and loved James Yeager. I respect James Yeager. I remember James Yeager moving the needle. What he did, what he did is, I remember some years ago, James Yeager coming out when he was this bombastic guy on the internet, and he would make these videos, and it kind of looked like when you don't know who James Yeager is and you're not used to him, people thought he was this crazy guy. And I remember he came out and he said, talking about the Second Amendment, and he talked about, for a militia, the right of the people to keep and bear arms should not be infringed, and the idea of the individual citizen soldier and the individual American patriot under the Constitution should have, and is expected to have, all of the same weaponry and equipment of whatever your time's average infantry soldier should have. If it's 1775, you should have a musket and, all of that stuff. If it's 2022, James Yeager had said this probably 10, 15 years ago, and he's talking about what an average citizen should have today. And he said, the average citizen today should have everything that an infantry soldier should have in their time, up to and including hand grenades. And I remember when James said that, that was such a unusual statement. That was an idea. I remember just being like, holy shit, dog. I hadn't considered hand grenades. And if you go back in time 15 years, I remember when the National Firearms Act, I remember when the Hughes Amendment passed, and, they no more machine guns, and, the explosives are controlled on the NFA 1934. And we went from a time, I've gone from a time in my life, because I'm 51 now, where people could buy fully automatic weapons, but a lot of them did not, because they didn't want to pay the extra money, and you're just wasting ammo, and it costs more to shoot. And most people were not interested in military-style weapons. And I know when I say that today, people are like, the fuck you talking about, motherfucker? We got to remember, in the 80s, it wasn't until a certain generation, probably my generation, saw movies and saw Hollywood and saw culture, and we were all interested in weapons from the military and weapons from the Vietnam War and weapons from World War II, and everything got to, all the military stuff got to be more and more and more desirable. Well, James Yeager was way ahead of the curve. James Yeager moved popular culture. And James Yeager said, I think the average citizen should have access to, up to and including, hand grenades. And I think that statement, when I first heard it, obviously struck me very, very sideways. But today, I recognize that as being, it's probably necessary. No, it is necessary. And I'm okay with it. I recognize it. People having hand grenades isn't a bad thing. You can't destroy the world with hand grenades. There's something you can do with a hand grenade. that you can't do with a Derringer. Hand grenades aren't like atomic weapons. And a guy like James Yeager led the way. And, James Yeager is more important to popular American culture and the Second Amendment in the United States and has more effect on everybody's lives, even if you're a Democrat, even if you're a liberal, even if you live in a gun-free zone, in a gun-free state, in a gun-free life, than the Queen of England will ever have on you or ever had on you. And the people that would have been unkind to James Yeager 20 or 30 years ago, some of them are singing his praises today. And a little voice in the back of my head makes me wonder how many of those people would have been like, oh, that's the dude that fucking camera downrange and bullet shooting past them. Who's this fucking LARPer guy? And it's more about them. It's a reason to be unkind. It's a reason to be ugly with no end goal in mind. When James Yeager was talking about up to and including hand grenades, he wasn't trying to be ugly. He's bombastic, but he wasn't trying to be ugly. He was trying to make a point. And people that try to be ugly with no point neither have a point or have a position. They're just being ugly. It's more a reflection of them. And James Yeager was making that point. Don't post on the internet about me like, oh, it's been a year since I've been gone. I miss James Yeager. And he literally, in his final words, he said, don't do that shit, because that's just you promoting you at my expense. It's not about me. That's about you. And people today, like the news, like there's a talk. And I'm going somewhere with this with the Queen. Like there's this professor at Carnegie Mellon who said all this nasty shit about the Queen of England, and people debating all this stuff over there about the Queen Elizabeth II. And the reality is, all these Americans saying this stuff, it's about them. It's not about the Queen of England. It's not about the monarchy. It's not about colonialism. It's not about all of these grievances. It's a way to put the light on you, to make it about you. And be more like James Yeager. I don't think James Yeager would have said a bunch of nasty shit about the Queen. James Yeager could be a caustic guy. We all got older. We all got a little bit wiser, a little bit, more mature. She's the head of state of these Commonwealth countries. She's the Queen of England, was the Queen of England. It's very important in cultural history, especially for England and for Western civilization. There's no reason to be ugly just to be ugly, which is saying something coming from me in my mouth and the way I talk. So, yeah, the Queen of England, James Yeager, I think it's good two juxtapositions of where we should try to position ourselves in life and how to behave. Acting like an asshole just to act like an asshole doesn't give you credibility. It just makes you look like an asshole. Anyway, did I lose you, Danny?
No. That was a very good analogy. I like that.
Well, also, I'll tell you what, we'll talk about the Queen here. So, like, you've heard of this, like, there's the woman, the Carnegie Mellon professor, and there's been another one, too, like this woman who's at DOD. And,
yeah. Unbelievable. It's like, let her rest in peace.
Well, taking a drink, excuse me. So, as James warned, as a lot of us have been aware, but, James, St. James, as far as I'm concerned, St. James has gone from being, a person that wasn't well regarded to being beatified by the community. I think that's inspirational. I think there's lessons there for everybody. But this woman, like the one woman at Carnegie Mellon, she's like, she hoped the Queen had died of whatever agonizing death or whatever. And it's like, everybody kind of went hoo-ha crazy. And again, it's because the woman, she can say this. I don't know what she actually teaches or what she's supposed to be teaching. But, she's being ugly, and then she's going to get press, and then the media talks about it. We're talking about it. I'm talking about it. So I'm obviously part of the problem. However, I'm going to use her story to prove a point. The beauty of the First Amendment. And the beauty of the First Amendment, Danny, do you remember, because you're old enough to remember this, do you remember when the Nazis, not the Nazis that actually tore up Europe, but the Nazis in Southern Illinois in Skokie were like...
It's not Southern Illinois. Skokie is Northern Illinois, suburb of Chicago. Yes, I do. When they sued for their right to demonstrate in Marquette Park. Yes, I remember that vividly.
Okay, so I was pretty young, but I remember it dominated the news, and there was various places where you see the Klan. They're like, they want to put up something, and there's big debates. Is the public square? What can you allow and not allow? And sometimes entities and cities will be like, we only can allow 3 things because there's only enough room for 3 things on this public square for the holidays. So they will quietly coordinate with a couple of local civic organizations or churches to be like, quickly, hey, there's a license available. Go get the license to put your Christmas tree up before the Klan comes in. It is what it is. But I'm not a big fan of shutting down speech, and I'm not a big fan of not letting Nazis or racists talk, because if you, and I guess it's not a bad analogy, or maybe it is a good analogy or bad analogy. If you let a racist talk long enough, a bigot, they'll give themselves enough rope to hang themselves. And I say that on purpose. So the Carnegie Mellon professor, the woman who talked about the Queen, right, saying all the shitty stuff about the Queen. Did you hear, Danny, about, she's got a headline, terrible, and then it's like, how dare you? Then she reacts to that, and then it's like, they complain to her college, like, you should do something about her. So it turns out she's got tenure, I think, and so then she's like, you can't touch me, I've got tenure, I'm wanted here, and this news cycle of this woman. And did you hear the latest thing this woman at Carnegie Mellon had said?
No, I did. I seen the initials.
Yeah. She's hung herself here. She's a bigot and a racist. And here's where it is. And it's like, this is the beauty of the First Amendment. Because if you'd shut this woman down, you would have thought this is about her and the Queen and colonialism, just all whatever her argument she wants to make. She lives in America in 2022. She's a tenured professor at some fancy university. She's, like, we all can't live in victims of the past. But she comes out, and then she says, I'm sick, talking about the Queen. She says, I am sick of the, quote, cult of the white women. And it's like, unquote. And it's like, the fuck does that fucking mean? It's like, so she doesn't like the Queen of England because she's a well-known white person? A white woman? There's whiteness as part of it? And it's like, all right, well, if like there's these little kingdoms and principalities and stuff around the world, some of them are in Africa, some of them are in Asia. Like, would this woman at Carnegie Mellon, who's all pissed off and upset about Queen Elizabeth, she's just talking about her. She's really not talking about the Queen Elizabeth. It's about her. Would she say that shit when the Dalai Lama dies?
No.
Why not? The Dalai Lama is going to die.
Why won't she say it? Because because someone like that doesn't fit in her racist agenda.
Or her worldview.
You're right.
Or
maybe she's just trying to grab her 15 minutes.
And, as James Yeager said, are we really talking about the Dalai Lama? Are we really talking about the Queen of England? Or are we actually just talking about this woman at Carnegie Mellon? And you think we all know the answer. So, it's like, I'm just, it's just one of those things where it's like, whatever. I mean, I get it, like when you're young, you'd be like, hey, I stopped caring about the Queen in 1776. Like, I get it. Like, I mean, we're in Americans. Do I think we should fly any flags at half-staff for the Queen of England? No, we should not. She's the head. She's the head of a separate country, But hey, fun fact here: when George Herbert Walker Bush died, former President Bush, he died not that long ago, and all of these government entities lowered their flags to half staff. I wasn't really down for that either. And the reason why I wasn't down for that, it's not that I have any disrespect for George Herbert Walker Bush, which is Daddy Bush. My problem is, it's like, okay, he was a lifelong politician and civil servant. He didn't die in office. He had a great life and died of old age. We as a country, he didn't die in service of the country. We are not bowed by his passing. And what's happened is a lot of this virtue signaling that happens nonstop. Like, Danny, I'm like, okay, I'll tell you something bugs me. Half the time I'll drive through a community and I'll see American flags at half staff. And I literally don't even know what the hell they're for anymore. It's like, it's almost like the flags are at half staff half the time. And it's like, what are we doing here? Like, if I was president, if I ever became president, which will never happen, I mean, it's statistically possible because I'm a human, but if I ever became president, the first thing I'd come out and be like, look, when I die, don't you dare put the flag at half staff. America is strong, and America will be strong after I pass, especially if I pass in retirement long after I'm president. Stop it, y'all. Save it for the serious stuff. That's all I'm saying. And that's all James Yeager was saying. Stop making it about you virtue signaling. Don't dance on the graves of dead people just to bring attention to yourself.
Well, that's what a lot of like that professor and others are doing, and even those that are on the mainstream media, how they're eulogizing her, and it's just it's yeah, it's crazy. It goes both ways.
Well, I mean, like, from a news standpoint, like, look, I mean, it's not news for us. James Yeager's news for us, but we're not a national network or international cable news channel. I mean, the Queen of England passing is a huge deal. Like, I mean, it's a big network event, and it's a lot of pomp and circumstance, and all these world leaders are going to be coming in, and it's like, I mean, I don't like, look, if you look, I don't care for network television. I mean, including Fox, CNN, all of it. I understand a lot of it, that it's dog and pony show, made up bullshit. But also, I don't sit there and shake my fist at Fox News or CNN at the TV going, why are you showing this freaking funeral in England? I mean, it's like, turn it the F off. It's not like there's only 3 networks anymore. Listen to the John 1911 podcast. Like, again, people like, why is the Queen of England on my TV? It's like, that's really about you, not her. Like, what are you doing? Like, just whatever. A lot of people are interested in it. I can't.
Speaking,
Go
oh,
ahead.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Oh,
No,
speaking
go.
about the news networks, did you see where a major Trump donor is pretty much taking over CNN now, and he's very right wing?
Um, yeah, I know. Yeah, I mean, I've been aware of this for a while. He's not a
He
major
owns
Trump.
basically the Discovery Channel. Yeah, I
No,
was reading the article yesterday. He's a very
he
major Trump donor.
Chris. I think it's Chris Licht. I think is his name. Is that his name? Chris Licht.
I believe so.
Yeah, I mean, Chris Licht is not a. I mean, Chris Licht isn't a billionaire. He's not some guy that's giving a fuck ton of money to Donald Trump. Chris Licht is a
Well,
TV executive, and he's a conservative, I believe, but no one's really certain. He used to run the
no,
Discovery
this
Channel.
maybe that wasn't him. This is the guy. They said he's a billionaire, and he's the main owner of the Discovery Channel, and they merged with CNN now. So
Yes.
he's going to be calling the shots.
Okay, so yes. And what he did is the guy that ran Discovery Channel, I think his name is Chris Licht. I'm not going to Google it. I could be. I'm pretty certain it's Chris Licht.
It might be.
Has been moved over to be the head of CNN because he ran Discovery Channel and he was successful. Like all of those home shows and Builder, that's all part of the Discovery Network, I believe. And he came over to CNN, and he's been there for a few months now, and there's been firings and people leaving. Like all these people have been run out of CNN because he's the guy that's decided, we're going to try to be more of a center, nonpartisan, a center news network here. So yeah, I mean dude, he's the guy. You remember was it CNN Plus or CNN their streaming service?
Oh, the one that lasted 25 minutes.
Yeah. Well, what happened is they had spent, I don't know, was it 300 million or 500 million dollars on this. And like the previous people that were at CNN, it was like and it wasn't running, but it wasn't working. You could see it wasn't going to work, but they'd spent so much money. It's like, God, we can't shut this down. We just give it a chance. And then they committed to doing something right before because they knew they were going to be all out of a job because they knew this new guy was coming in from Discover, and their thought process was, they were like, this is too big to fail. Like this is set. We've already spent the money. This is going to last at least a couple years. Maybe they can turn it around. The new guy's not going to come in. It's like, see what happens. But internally they could tell nobody's watching this goddamn thing. And this guy came in from Discovery Channel, was like, I don't give a fuck how much money you spent. This thing sucks. He took it out behind the barn and shot it. And they're like, holy fuck. And then that's when the one guy who was it? How quickly we forget. Because, there's I can't remember all the names of the people at CNN, but they've been getting out for a while. And they've let some more people go.
Yeah, well, Brian Seltzer, Jeffrey Toobin, and the other one.
Seltzer, Toobin, Stelzer's Toobin, and then who was the main big guy?
I just read that the other day, and I can't think of it.
Zucker, Mark, is it no, his name? Is his name Zucker?
Yeah, wasn't he general manager or something?
Yeah, this guy basically ran, and they ran his ass out. Turns out he had a side chick or something. It was like like they're all falling over there. I don't know I don't know. Maybe we'll get the call to be on CNN.
Well, I keep telling you, we're going to get our own Sunday morning, time slot there, and we'll probably on the 1 hour time slot do more than they do all week.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, there was a time when we were really big because of Facebook. We used to beat some of CNN head to head or MSNBC. We used to beat MSNBC during the day. Because you could see the numbers. But yeah, I mean, secretly, everyone knows that Danny wants to be on CNN. Don't you, Danny?
Yes, I do. Yeah, yes, I do. I already have a name for the show.
Lay it on me.
Truth.
Wait a minute. What about Truth Social? Donald Trump's going to sue you now. Can't do that.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's true. We can't copyright infringe. Well, okay. Well, we'll have to think of something else.
Yeah, you don't.
We'll still be popular.
You don't want to be anywhere near Donald Trump. If he turns his Gorgon's eye on you, buddy, you're going to be in court for 10 years.
Speaking about Trump, did you see the golf course meeting that the mainstream media is losing their minds over? Did you see that?
I saw a reference, but I don't know why they're losing their minds over it. I mean, I know. Yeah.
Trump flew into Washington, D.C. unannounced.
Mm-hmm.
He went to his privately owned golf course. There were about,
is that
let's
Trump
say,
International?
5 or 6, whatever it is.
Yeah.
but they went out somewhere way out on one of the by one of the tees or driving ranges or something, and the mainstream media lost their mind because they said they didn't have time to set up hidden microphones. What were they talking about? The camera angles could not get lip reading experts in, and all. It's a giant conspiracy. Is why Trump is meeting with those people. Well, one of the people in that meeting was the head architect of the Trump golf courses. So maybe they were just planning on redoing the course or something. But according to the mainstream media, which is losing their minds, it's a complete conspiracy of what Trump and his team are plotting. They actually called them the mafia mob.
You see this because I didn't pay attention because I was dealing with tractor stuff. Then there's the Queen of England in the news. I'd heard references to this story, and they were like, Trump's on a golf course without golf clubs. Like, what's going on? And I'm
Right.
like, I don't know what's going on. But see, the thing is, that's why you're here to bring us all because I was like, he probably did have a meeting up there somewhere. But maybe maybe he's gonna put in a cemetery at the Trump golf course in Washington, so he doesn't so he doesn't have to pay taxes there too. I mean,
Oh no,
I don't
no.
know.
According to the mainstream media, it's all plotting and scheming.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, hey, look, I support Donald Trump. Donald Trump says a lot of things that ultimately, like James Yeager, turn out being correct. But don't think
Well,
Donald Trump doesn't scheme. I mean, come on. Come
Well, and
on.
and what about the DOG and this purge of 30 more people? I mean, attorneys are seizing their phone records. Whatever happened to attorney-client privilege? It's like they're it's getting crazy. It's getting crazy.
I mean, it's obvious. It's obvious that the Department of Justice is probably going to indict Donald Trump. I think everyone pretty much realizes that's going to happen. And then, and like, okay, let's say Donald Trump was president, all right? And let's say this was all Hillary Clinton. We'd be on the other side of the argument saying it's obvious they're going to indict Hillary Clinton. She's going to be charged. And, it's like, then I'd be like, First Lady's never going to go to jail, blah, 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 blah. And then the argument would be Donald Trump's going to issue her a pardon. So she's always got that hanging over her head. She needed a pardon, so she didn't go to jail. And I would be surprised if, they indict him and do all this, then Biden swings in and goes, here's a pardon.
I don't think so. It's just ironic how all this now is coming so close to the midterms. And actually, what I feel is the Biden White House and the DOJ are actually energizing the Trump base and the Republican people to get out in the midterms.
I mean, it's possible. Look, it's obvious that the department. I mean, look, I don't know what I don't know, and none of us really do. We can assume a lot, but I think anyone fair-minded can say that people in the Department of Justice and people within the FBI, which is a subset of the Department of Justice, that there's people in that organization that have always wanted to get Donald Trump, and that seems to be the motivation. Now, as to how this will all play out, I don't know.
Well, none of us know, but what I
Well,
think it's going to.
did you
What I think
hear
it's going to. Go ahead.
some of the information? Because remember, okay, like this is all fallen away. Like the last podcast we did, it was all in like Donald Trump had nuclear secrets, and it's like, oh God. And I even said on Pod, well, if he's got anything of ours, it's probably something to do with hypersonic weapons because that was kind of the new thing. And fun fact. You remember how, ultimate declassification authority of the president? Do you remember, Danny, when Donald Trump got up and was making a speech, or he was, sometimes he reads a speech, and then he starts talking extemporaneously, and then he starts reading a speech, and then he starts talking extemporaneously. He got up somewhere when he was president, and he talked about, we got this new missile. It's the best missile. It's the greatest missile. Believe you me, they're all talking about it. That this thing will go Mach 5 or Mach 7 or something. And the media was like, what the fuck? Are you smoking crack? And then quietly it had to come out. This hypersonic program came out. And then our hypersonic program came out, and then they started talking about hypersonic programs in China and hypersonic programs in Russia. As I remember, Donald Trump was the first public person to actually broach the subject of hypersonic weapons. And he did it, and he's just, it's a super national secret. I mean, look, did the Russians know we were developing hypersonic weapons? You betcha. Did the Chinese know we were developing hypersonic weapons? You betcha. Because the Russians had arrested some of their people for spying on their program, probably to the West. And it looks like the Chinese had got a lot of the base of their hypersonic weapon technology from their spying on us. And these, the agencies and the governments and the presidents and the scientists, they knew each other. They were working on this, but CNN hadn't talked about it. We hadn't talked about it. Donald Trump talked about it. And if I had talked about it, if I'd read a document and it was like, yeah, we got this missile, it's real, and I had literally said the same thing Donald Trump had said. We got this missile. It's the greatest missile. It's the best missile. We got the best missiles in the world. Believe you me, everybody's talking about it. They put me in fucking jail. But, Donald Trump literally, when he's actually president, he doesn't have it now, but when he's president, he has supreme classifying authority.
Declassifying authority.
So, no, he's the supreme classifying authority in the executive branch. Everything, every authority everybody has in the executive branch when he's president flows through him personally. Not his office, through him. The Constitution is very clear. Through him personally. Like Donald Trump doesn't have to okay, before I talk about the greatest missile, I don't have to go and get it approved by this board of advisors.
Oh, yeah, and ask permission, right?
No, it's him.
Maybe that's what he's thinking on those documents at Mar-a-Lago. If he has classifying authority, he has declassifying authority.
That's his argument. Well, yeah, classifying authority is both ways. His argument was, these are all declassified because I declassified them. And you can't, it's going to be impossible to prove otherwise. Now, the media is going to be like, whatever.
There's a process.
Yeah, there's a process, and it's like, well, there's not. And the reality is, if it goes all the way up to the Supreme Court is going to be like, you can't prove that in his mind, he didn't go ipse facto, Donald Trump's hair is grade A, and these are now declassified. You can't prove it. And the Constitution, he's the supreme authority of the chief executive of the executive branch. That's what chief executive means. So, now they're saying he's coming out, and I guess the new argument they're floating is he didn't even know there were documents down there or what was down there, which is entirely possible. Could have been a setup. Maybe they left him there. I don't know. I mean, am I a conspiracy-minded person? Generally, no. But after the nonsense I've seen from various people in the, quote, Justice FBI departments, with colluding with Russia, this nonsense, it's entirely possible that they left documents, or they know we had the documents, but they're like, hey, look, how were Barack Obama's documents handled? Barack Obama had access and knew all kinds of shit. Are there classified documents in the Obama presidential library? What level classified? How was that handled? Was it like, hey, dude, you got the shit about the missile in here, let's fucking pull that back? You're never going to arrest Barack Obama. You're never going to convict him. The sitting president be like, yo, Barry, give it back. Okay. But you're not going to convict him. And there's no mechanism in place, realistically, under the Constitution, you're going to convict Donald Trump of this. You're going to convict a former president. And if, and I think Biden probably knows that. I mean,
I'm sure the DOJ knows that, but they've been weaponized to the point to where they're throwing everything on the wall to see what sticks.
they have a hard on for him. But we've talked about all that. So let's go into a little bit more politics here.
Oh,
I
good. That
I
gives me a boner.
Yeah, I know you do. Yeah. Danny's got. Is that the title of the podcast? Danny's got a boner.
I don't care.
Um,
Maybe a chub.
Chubb.
When you
Hey,
get old, you'll
I
see.
can. Hey, just so people listen to the podcast understand. Just like a sitting president, I have sole artistic authority to make the title of the podcast whatever I want. So y'all best tread lightly. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Well, okay. What politics do you want, amateur?
Well, okay. Well, I was kind of having a minor meltdown on the last podcast complaining about Republicans, in particular J.D. Vance, not running a campaign. And,
Oh, in Ohio and the
I was pissed off about Ohio, I was pissed off about Pennsylvania, and I'm pissed off about Georgia.
right. And I argued with you.
Yeah, and, I also said at the time, I said it's entirely possible that they're waiting until after Labor Day, because that's the official start of the political season. And I have started to see a few good ads and PAC ads being run by people supporting J.D. Vance in Ohio against Tim Ryan, and I'm relieved to see it.
Well, who was it on the other end of this podcast told you that it's going to start?
Well, I told you that. You got that from me.
Oh, my God. I argued in favor that it was going to start after Labor Day, remember?
Well,
and I
okay.
Said, just wait. You'll start seeing them. And you are.
I think that's a fair statement. But again, you know what I don't like? And I think listeners of this podcast don't like? I don't think James Yeager would like this. I don't think the Queen of England would like this. Nobody likes a team coming on the field acting like, yeah, we got this in the bag. We're going to win this. It's like, J.D. Vance better get off his fucking ass and start showing up places so people can see him in person. And I'm just like, motherfucker, I didn't want him. And it's like, this is, it's like, dude, come on. And, it's like Ohio's a safe seat. Well, not if you fucking show up with one hand tied behind your back. It's not.
I think Vance is safe in Ohio, but I really think that Oz needs to really push against that. He changed the name to Fetterwoman, and or whatever it is now.
Yeah, Fetterman. It's the worm is starting to turn against Fetterman as well, and I'm glad to see that as well.
So, and a new poll out of Georgia shows Herschel Walker up 2.5 points,
which is not great, but we'll take it.
But here's the thing too. Down in Georgia, you're going to see the Walker campaign starting to really attack his opponent's liberal, almost beyond liberal ways and beliefs and things like that. So, yeah, it's going to get interesting these next 6 weeks.
I have to defer to you because I haven't paid that much attention to the is it Warnock and Walker?
Warnock, yeah. Warnock.
In Georgia. Warnock. And, Warnock's got all kinds of problems. And I don't know. I'm just like, I was hoping Walker would do better. But I haven't really followed it. And I hope all those Georgia Tech fans come out and vote for Walker. I don't know if Walker played at Georgia Tech. I know he was a football player. Where did Walker play college football?
Georgia.
He played Walker played college football in Georgia?
At Georgia. Yeah, I believe at Georgia.
Georgia Tech or Georgia State.
I think Georgia.
I'm gonna get all kinds of hate mail. I'm gonna get I don't know because Doc
we're Midwestern people.
Well, I don't know sports and Doc Doc PhD Doc metallurgist over here. He went to undergrad and maybe his master's degree. He did undergrad at Arizona. And if I say Arizona State, because I kind of use them interchangeably, he gets all kinds of sideways about it. Because I guess Arizona State is Arizona's biggest rival. It's a huge,
yes, they are.
It's a huge insult, and it's like no. And so he last time he was down there, he bought me a University of Arizona is it even university? It's
Sun
just called,
Devils.
yeah, whatever. A red,
Is that the
uh,
Sun Devils?
I don't
I
know.
don't
I
know.
don't know, dude. I am not going to. I will send the sports corrections to podcast at john1911.com, and I will forward them straight to Danny. It is not my area. Danny is
um,
uh, Dan is the associate editor of sports for the John
oh, the
1911 podcast.
associate. Oh, another new title. Does that mean a
Yes, new
bump in
title, no
salary?
check. Yeah, but
Oh,
look, if it don't go bang or bleed, I don't know it. Like to me, okay, people talk about the Wimbledon Cup, and it's like they're talking about the thing at the tennis match in England. I'm like, nah, dude, the Wimbledon Cup is a long range match at Camp Perry.
well,
Um,
s-
you know,
well, speak real quick. Speaking about Arizona, the Democrat nominee, which used to be the Secretary of State, just 3 weeks ago, she was up by 8 points. Now it's a dead heat with a Republican ex-newscaster, I can't think of her name, on the Republican side that is running against her. But the Democrat nominee for governor in Arizona will not schedule any debates at all. She will not debate the Republican, and people are starting to ask questions. What is she hiding? Where is she going? What's going on with this? So the Republican candidate in Arizona, she's keen on this, and now her percentages are rising.
Well, that's good. I mean, I don't. Again, I don't know the Arizona race at all, and so the fact that this person, they say it's a woman, is a former
Two women.
newscaster. Two women. Well, the Republican is a former newscaster, which to me is good news because I want someone that you can put in front of a camera that can actually string three words together. Unlike apparently Mr. Fetterman in Pennsylvania, I sent that to you last night. That compilation of his
Yes, yes,
he
he did have his everyday working man sweatshirt on.
Yeah, he wears Carhartts, but he's never had a job. He was, I like how it came out that his wealthy parents basically
Yeah,
paid for him up until his 40s, and then like he has an apartment or something that he lived in that he bought, or
he,
condo that he bought from his sister for $1. And
yeah,
I
I
think he
read
lives in a
that.
car dealership now or something. But it's like, oh, okay, because I look at
He
Fetterman like he's a communist, and it's like, of
he
course he's a child of rich parents. Of course he's a fucking communist.
he's another one that won't debate,
Yeah, apparently
or
he's
he
well,
agree, or he might do a debate the day before the general election.
yeah, and like I think the mail-in ballot voting is going to start happening. I don't know when, but it's going to be relatively soon. And
Right.
it's like I'm hearing that the mail-in ballots for people are coming in heavy, the Democrats, and you better prepare yourselves because I mean I hope that they've put stuff in place in Pennsylvania to catch. I mean, look, if you're a Democrat and you're a communist and you want to have a write-in ballot, I support that. I will defend it. It's fine. I would rather you vote in person, but that shit better be fucking real. And like we better be able to check for the fake ones.
Well, that's exactly why in Georgia, Georgia did put all those safeguards in place, and Stacey Abrams is livid because she's not getting her way because now, oh, there's still plenty of mail-in ballots and plenty of time in Georgia, but signature match. There's other safeguards that are in place now, and
Mm-hmm.
you can't basically, the um, drop off ballot boxes with just certain times with poll watchers, and and then when the ballots do go in the drop-in boxes, they are going to be checked and rechecked with parties from each side, Democrat, Republican, looking at them. Well, she didn't want none of that for some reason. She her her big spiel is you're not allowing the blacks to vote. They can't get to the polls. They can't do this. No, they get there. They can mail them in. Follow the rules, and she doesn't want that.
Well, look, I mean, I'm suspicious of a lot of the mail-in ballots and all the early voting, and also I don't think it's good for the country because okay, like look at Fetterman, all right. Fetterman's got problems apparently now. He's got significant health issues, and people that have early mail-in voting are denied the opportunity to make an informed decision at the last minute. Like, what if it? I mean, again, I'm not, I'm not even going to use a candidate's name because I don't want to be accused of picking sides. But let's say, you live in a state, you have a write-in ballot, and then you send it in, and then a week before whatever the election that you early voted in, you find out that your candidate that you voted for was shooting puppies in the head at a puppy mill. And I'm using that example on purpose because that's a generally nonpartisan example of people would be fucking horrified. And they'd be like, you motherfucker. What? And I got news for you folks. You voted for that sumbitch and you can't undo it. I want to go and change my vote. Nope, can't. Doesn't work like that. And I'll be honest.
Nope, you mail it in.
Also, I'm not entirely comfortable with this whole like signature matching thing because according to whose standards? I mean, I just don't think, I think a lot of the signature matching just gets like, okay, yeah, no, we're not, yeah, whatever.
No, that's why they have a representative from each party, a Democrat and a Republican. Remember, when you go to your clerk's office and register to voting in the first place, your signature is there. So, I mean, is it 100% foolproof? No, but at least it is one of the safeguards that have been put in place in several states.
Okay, let me take off my, who's the guy, who's the InfoWars guy, Danny? What's his name?
Alex Jones.
Alex Jones. Let me take off my Alex Jones hat and put on my logical mathematician hat. Okay?
Go ahead.
And this is why I'm really concerned about voting, mail-in voting, and the way some of this stuff is done in a lot of these cities. And I'm just going to use logic here. I'm not going to use partisanship. I'm going to use logic. Okay. Votes are supposed to be a reflection of the will of the people. And the people can be wrong. The people can be right. The people can be petty. The people can be ill-informed. But they get to vote. And so you look at some of these places, like California, for example, is one. In California, like some of these areas in California are so poorly run, where the quality of life has gone so far down. But for some reason, an alternative candidate from a different party doesn't seem to be able to even win an election as dog catcher. That tells me logically there's more going on than partisan politics. I think there's something nefarious going on. Because I can't, okay, there's an old phrase in political science, and it goes roughly something like this. Communism. You can vote your way into it, but you got to shoot your way out of it. And
I remember that phrase.
And, I just like some of this stuff where it's so bad. Where even like a local independent person, like whatever you want to say, can't even get a job as dog catcher. Like, it's like, okay, look, there's all these dogs suffering on Skid Row. They're starving. People are eating dogs. They're not feeding. We're going to do it for the dogs. And everybody's for dogs. But even that person can't win in some of these areas. That tells me there's a problem here. And, California's like that. And Pennsylvania seems to be like that, parts of Pennsylvania. And here is an example to prove a point, because it's like, well, it doesn't work like that, Marky. It's like, oh, well, wait a minute, hold on now. In ancient history, like March of this year, ancient history, Loudoun County, Virginia, and some of these other school districts that are so blue, they are so liberal, they are so democratic that my relatives in Southern Virginia call that occupied Virginia. Those people in that part of Virginia don't even call themselves Virginians. They don't say they live in Virginia. They say they live in Nova, Northern Virginia. That's how separated these two areas are politically. Southern Virginia and Western Virginia from Northern Virginia. Northern Virginia is like New York, okay? And then all this crazy shit started coming out about some of these schools up there and raping kids and you know and students not being safe and all this other stuff that's happening, like real not safe shit. And all of a sudden, lickety split, bam, 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 you started seeing these parents voting out these school board members. Now, if that can happen in Northern Virginia, that I don't care. Like most of those people that voted for those Northern Virginia school districts, they vote for Barack Obama and they vote for Joe Biden. They're not Trump voters. But if it's like, this is so bad, we're going to vote for the alternative. But you don't seem to get that in parts of Pennsylvania, and you don't seem to get that in parts of California, because there's enough theft and there's enough shenanigans that if you're not ahead by, like, say 2%, minimum, like, they could steal 2%. And this isn't an argument. This isn't Trafalgar Groups made this argument before 2020, that in some of these big cities where they're Democrat-run, liberal-controlled, that, you know, these people, they're like, Donald Trump is an existential threat to democracy. Donald Trump is Hitler. And that argument, like, would you go back in time and kill Hitler? Well, yeah. Well, if you are faced with if you believe that, and if you believe or you've been told that Donald Trump is Hitler and people that give him money are brown shirts, you could see logically, or someone's like, well, I got to do this to save the country. We're stealing the election, but it's to save the country. And, and that's how these people justify this terrible behavior. And that's where you end up in a situation where you can vote your way into this stuff, but you're not allowed to change your mind. You're going to shoot your way out of it. And I find it very distressing. And, I just don't think that, if Atlanta is going to be the tipping point for what's his name and what's the football player?
Herschel Walker.
Herschel Walker. If Atlanta's going to be the tipping point for Herschel Walker, because Atlanta, my understanding is Atlanta's pretty liberal, Democratic stronghold, very populous city. I mean, if it's within 2 points, they can steal it in Atlanta. That was the argument that Trump was making for 2020. He hasn't necessarily proven it. I don't believe he's actually proven it. I mean, there's a lot of questions. But the fact is that if it's close in a lot of these places that are so corrupt, I am worried. And that's why, when guys like J.D. Vance or, these other people that want to just, wishy-washy Republicans that want to just walk on the field without even having broken a sweat yet, I want to wring their necks. And that's where I'm at on it.
Right.
It just bothers the shit out of me.
Well, what are you going to do? Hey, any gun stuff today?
We do have some gun stuff, but actually I want to tell you, who's your favorite mayor in America? I have a new favorite. I love this mayor.
My favorite mayor.
Do you remember the mayor of New Orleans that came out and said, very racist comment, by the way. I'm just saying, because apparently black people can't be racist. But he came out and he said, New Orleans is a chocolate city and will always be a chocolate city. And it's like, interesting. If the Queen of England came out and said Liverpool will always be a white chocolate city and has always been a white chocolate city, it would have been pitchforks and torches, right? Well, my new favorite mayor, it used to be Chocolate City. Well, New Orleans does not disappoint. The current mayor of New Orleans is a woman, and she has they have a policy in the city of New Orleans. If you travel around as a city employee, as she's she's a member of the city, and fly around, you are obligated. You have to buy the cheapest seat on the plane, or you have to buy the cheapest ticket on the bus. This is common sense. This is good governance, due diligence, public funds. We have policies in place The guy, the head of the garbage department can't be flying first class to go to the garbage convention when he can fly coach with the rest of the voters, right? I mean, this makes sense, right? Because it's not his money, right? Are you there? Did I lose you?
Yes, no, I'm
Okay,
listening to
okay.
every. I know where you're going with this because I read the story.
So this mayor, she I don't know why she had to fly to Europe. I don't know why she was flying to all these
She,
places.
she was promoting New Orleans to foreign entities so they would possibly come over and set up shop there.
Yeah, because Mardi Gras hasn't done that already, or I don't know who's the um, Drew Brees, the football like there's a football dynasty again.
Yeah.
Podcast at john911.com. Any football, any sports
Drew
related
Brees was
complaints?
the quarterback for the New Orleans Saints, and Sean Payton was the coach of the New Orleans
Peyton.
Saints.
The Peyton family is a big New Orleans family, right? Isn't it the
Actually, no,
Peyton?
they're from outside of
No,
Chicago.
I'm sorry, Manning. The Manning
The
family.
Mannings
So
are.
yeah, so there you go. So like the Mannings and the Manning family. And then there's Drew Brees, and then there's Marty. Like again, we've not mentioned the name of the mayor of New Orleans because I don't even know her name because no one cares, right? So she's been flying around, and she's got staff members. She's got a security detail. That's not uncommon with a larger city, especially one as violent as New Orleans. They have a security detail. If anything, they typically have a body person, a detective or plainclothes officer. So if you're going to have one, you got to have three because minimum you got to have 24-hour coverage. Generally, this is kind of how this works. That's why security is so expensive. So she's flying around, and all of her staff members they fly coach, but she flies first class. All her bodyguard detail, they fly coach. She flies first class. Again, going to Europe, going all this stuff, right? Well, the city has ruled that if the city will pay for the cheapest ticket, and anything above that, you have to pay the difference. And she didn't do that, and she tried to bill it through the city. And the city's ruled that, like, no, you owe us $30,000 for all these tickets. Have you heard her argument as to why the mayor of New Orleans, does not have to pay? Why she doesn't have to fly and coach? Have you heard her argument?
I didn't hear the argument. I just seen that she's refusing to pay.
Her argument is that it is not safe for a black, she said black or African, a chocolate, you know what? Since a chocolate woman to fly and coach. That is her
Not.
argument.
It's not safe.
It's not safe for a. She didn't say chocolate woman. I'm saying chocolate woman because I don't know if she said black or African American, but she basically was saying whatever she was saying. It was like if she was white, her argument is she'd have been safe to fly and coach, but since she's not white, it wasn't safe for her to fly and coach. And it's like,
Yeah, I guess that
girl,
extra 30 feet makes a difference.
I mean, it's like, girl, like you just, and this is where, and this affects Democrats. I mean, it can get Republicans too, but it's like this idea. This is the fundamental weakness of people on the left. They do
Enti-
not, huh?
Entitlement.
Well, no, it's not even that. They don't actually build businesses generally. They are statists. So, everybody wants to grow up and make money. Everybody wants to grow up and have more, as you get older, you tend to make more. As you get older, you have more assets. This is just a reality of life. Judge Judy once said 16-year-olds buy Pontiacs, 60-year-olds buy Porsches. And it's by virtue of their age. And, as you get older, you tend to accumulate more wealth. This is just the way it is, young people, in case you didn't know this. Well, if she hasn't actually worked in the private sector and had her own money, she's getting to the point, I'm the mayor of New Orleans. I'm the mayor of the city. I deserve this. This is, why can't I have this? And so instead of it, she doesn't realize it's not a private company where you can get these perks. Jack Welch can get the airplane perk from GE because it's part of his compensation package. Well, in the public sector, you're spending public money. It's never private money, so they can't decide. They don't get to woo you. Like, it's not like, hey, you're such a great mayor, we're going to pay you $20 million and give you stock options and let you use the company plane to get you to be our CEO. That's not how you get to become mayor. You get to become mayor because people vote for you, unless you steal it. And so she's like, hey, I'm a chief executive. Why can't I fly first class? And it's like,
But what's a shame is she'll probably be reelected.
Probably. So, you know what? Before we
Wow.
get into the gun stuff, Danny, do you like the smell of coffee?
I love the smell of coffee. I love the smell of fresh pine trees. I like very pleasant odors.
Do you love bacon? I'm sure I love bacon, right? And we all love bacon.
Yes.
Smell of bacon. When I
Yes.
was growing up, my grandfather on my father's side, he smoked a pipe. And I always loved the smell of his pipe, and I've never smoked. But if I do take up smoking and pick up tobacco, I'm definitely it'll probably be a pipe just because I love the smell of it. But I'll tell you one thing that I think everybody likes more from this week's sponsor. Is there anything that smells better than leather? Believe it or not, or better than any of the pine trees? Believe it or not, there is, and it's fresh. It's a fresh leather holster. If you stop by craftholsters.com, you'll open the door to safe and comfortable carry. They've got holsters for both concealed carry and open carry, semi-autos and revolvers, righties and lefties, and all of that at a reasonable price. Please visit craftholsters.com for more info. See, that wasn't that stumbly, was it? We got the commercial in, right?
Yeah. Actually, I'm looking forward to us. You know, actually, the smell of a new craft leather holster. I bet you they smell outstandingly good.
Yeah, we were talking to Kraft. I've been so busy. We might get some of them. We each have a gun. Maybe we can pick from. We'll see. I mean, I don't know if we're going to get it for free, but
Yeah. It doesn't matter. I mean, they're a good product. That's all
yeah.
that
I mean,
matters, and they smell good.
the thing is, like, my, one of my big problems with leather holsters was always the wait times. Everyone knows that I like, I'm generally a Kydex guy, but leather holster has its place. And most of the people that listen to this podcast, because there's a lot of 1911 guys and people that want to keep their guns without a lot of wear. I mean, you look at my guns, obviously have a lot of wear. Leather holster is your way to go if you want to protect your finish on your guns. But we had holsters. I had 1911 holsters from companies, and one of the things I just hated, it's like, well, you need a replacement holster, you need to buy one. It's 6 months, and it's like, well, that sucks. I mean, like, come on, it's a holster. Like, why do I have to wait 6, 8, 9 months a year for a holster? So, and also, like, honestly, like, I know you wanted a revolver holster, right,
Yeah,
Danny?
because conceal is actually sometimes on the ankle a 38 snub,
Oh, okay, they definitely have
and I
that,
like
and
I like leather.
And one of the things, and I'll tell you what I like, and I'm if they listen to this podcast, I don't. I mean, they're finding out now. Breaking news: craft holsters. I'm looking to see if I can't get a shoulder holster for the EDC X9. For those people that the Wilson Combat, the double stack X9 guns. I know Craft does have leather holsters for the X9. I know at least a 4-inch gun. Um, I hope they have a 5-inch, and I would be very interested in a 5-inch leather holster, 5-inch holster for a shoulder rig, so I could use that when I'm at the farm or the range, chopping trees and doing stuff. You know what I mean? So I think it'd come in hand. A shoulder holster was handy for range work. So I don't know. I'd love to have a leather shoulder holster for this.
Well, trust me, you'd like a nice ankle for a 2.5 inch snub or 2.25 inch snub if you're umpiring it, in the neighborhoods of Chicago.
Yeah,
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 trust me on that.
yeah.
Or a 32 fits very good in my ball bag.
God Almighty! Hey! Phrasing, Danny. Your ball bag. Hey, what? The 32 fits in my ball bag.
Baseball umpire bag.
Okay, all
We
right.
call it for shortened purposes, you call it a ball bag.
Yeah. So,
Why is your mind always in the gutter?
have you listened to this podcast? I mean, like, who do you think you're talking to here? Like, I mean, look, we're not going to get, like, if we don't ever get a time slot on the new CNN, it's not going to be because of you, Danny. You're not going to be the one that's keeping us from getting on CNN. So I'm just saying, you might be tied to this ship in more ways than you think. So,
Yeah, I know. There's a tether line. I know it. I just know it.
yeah. Speaking,
Speaking
so
about guns, what do you? Yeah, on guns,
industry
what do you?
news. So, have you seen? Did you see the? Have you seen any of the stuff going on with the Springfield Prodigy 2011 double stack gun that's been going around?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. You sent me that article, and I was looking at it. I think Springfield might have a niche market there.
Single shot 1911s.
Yeah, I
Okay,
do.
okay, single
Okay,
shot.
look at this. Look at it this way. You got the Springfield 1911, or you have much more pricier ones. Which ones are going to sell more? That's why I'm saying that.
So you. Oh, wait a minute. So you're thinking that the Prodigy is a loss leader to drive people to buy the single stacks that work.
Yes,
Oh, you know what?
yes.
We all might be sitting here like suckers, and there's like some dude from Wharton School of Business in the back room of Springfield. Like, my plan is coming together. He's like who's the colonel from the A team? I just love it when a plan comes together. So, but yeah,
Why are you jogging my memory today?
yeah.
You know,
Were you too old for the A team growing up? You're a little bit older than me. You never watched the A team. You're probably an adult by then, right?
all I know is Mr. T was on it, and BJ and somebody else. I forget.
It was
Yeah,
Colonel Hannibal. Was
that was
Lieutenant
it.
was the Lieutenant BJ,
Could have been.
and then
I don't know.
Mr. T, and then
Mr. T's the only guy I know that wrecked that van 5,000 times and it was
yeah,
still running.
yeah, B.A. Baracus. I pity the fool that don't like a Springfield. It's Prodigy.
That's right.
Um,
But think about it. Springfield, you can afford a Springfield much cheaper than you could afford other brands. So if someone does want to get into the single stack 1911 market and they see maybe a 3 or 4.99 versus a 29.99, what are you going to buy?
I don't think Springfield makes a $400 gun. They probably I think Springfields are minimum $1,000, if not
Well,
1,500. Yeah,
maybe not exact
yeah.
pricing, but you
So,
know where I'm going with
but
this.
like there's all the like there's so again, I haven't seen. We're not gear reviewers. I'm not going to we're not going to get one of these guns. I'm not interested. I don't like 2011. I have problems with the 2011 guns because, and this isn't just, even if the Springfield gun runs, it has the same problem that the STI staccato guns have, the same problem that the Atlas guns have, and all these other guns. It doesn't matter how much it costs. These 2011s, they're over railed and they're over lugged for 9mm, and then the frame is too fat and the magazine's too fat for such a short round, and
I thought the new Springfield 2011 is supposed to be more narrow.
it's a 20, it's a doubles. All these 2011s. The problem with the 2011 is that, and again, 2011 is owned by Staccato, the name 2011, but the 2011 gun was actually made by a guy named Chip McCormick, and back in the day, he was trying to figure out a way to get more bullets into a 45 1911. So he blew the frame up, proverbially, he blew the frame up to get more 45s into a gun, made a bigger frame and a bigger magazine so you could have more bullets, and so you don't have to do as much mag changes with like you do with a single stack 1911. Well, what's happened is, all of the engineering and the design, it's all kind of been done, and the technology is in the public domain, so people make parts, they're making all this stuff, and so a lot of these companies that are making 2011s, they're just either subsourcing or using what's already out there, and they haven't engineered these guns from the ground up with certain goals in mind. Like, okay, a little technical difficulty there. I think Danny had an incoming missile from Vladimir Putin. That's what that alarm was. But anyway, my thoughts on the 2011, or maybe it was Springfield Armory.
Did it have to be from? Hey, Vladimir's got enough problem with him losing ground.
Springfield Armory might have been coming after you. So, but the 2011
Why? I'm
guns
supportive of them.
over-railed, over-lugged, and the frame's too big and the mag's too big for the 9mm round. It's a waste of space. And a lot of times, if you work a double stack 2011 gun, if you work a double stack 2011 gun, you feel like the spring's real weak, and the reason the spring is real weak is because they can't put a super heavy spring in it because they don't want it to have issues cycling, because it's got to get over all of the resistance of the lugs and the rails. And just ask, if you're a 1911 person and you don't design 1911s, just ask yourself this question: pull out a 45 caliber 1911, take it apart, look at the barrel. You'll see 2 radial lugs on the barrel, because it's for 45. And then take your 2011 9mm gun, pull the barrel out, and you'll see 2 radial lugs. Why is that? It's because that's the way they're made. The 9mm doesn't need all that lug for that. It's overlugged. And when you start realizing that's overlugged and there's other problems, that's just why I'm not a fan of the 2011. There's a lot of compromises there. And also why 2011s famously have issues with 9mm rounds is because the magazine was designed for 45 and even presents as a 45. So that's why it took so many years for companies to tweak and get these magazines to work in 9mm in a 2011. And even to this day, why you can drop a 2011 magazine and damage it so easily. And it doesn't really work with 9mm anymore, but like other guns like Glocks and Walthers and Wilson EDC X9s, the magazines are super robust because they have a magazine body and feed lips that are designed from the ground up to hold 9mm, to present 9mm, and load 9mm. I'm gonna get off it. I beat a dead horse with it. So anyway, but I did a video on how to clear a jammed gun, physically jammed gun, and that video's gotten a lot of traffic. So, that's the latest.
Really?
Yeah, it's gotten a lot. Yeah, because apparently a lot of people, like, they can clear a malfunction, but it's like magazine versus clip. Most people, it's not jammed; it's clearing a malfunction. But there are times when your gun is mechanically jammed up. Jimmy jammed, like you cannot pull the slide back. And that's happening with these prodigies. I'm not going to say why. There's a couple reasons that we've heard. I don't know. And, people are like having to beat them open, or, they don't know how to get leverage on them. So there's some tricks, and I shared them, and I guess some people were like, oh, thanks, I didn't know that. And, again, if you're a civilian and you've never had formal pistol training, there's no reason you would know some of this stuff unless your grandpa was a high level, if your grandpa taught you how to shoot, but if he wasn't a high level pistol guy himself, he didn't teach you this stuff. So I don't whack people for not knowing it, but that's what's going on with that.
Well, I never have that problem because I'm more of a revolver guy.
That's right, because revolvers never jam. Oh, wait a minute. Yes, they do. Revolver jams are worse
than... I figure you would have a circumstance for it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I tell you something. I tell you what. You want to see a bad jam? Either a primer lifts high in a revolver and locks up the cylinder, or if you get like sometimes you'll get like 9mm. A 9mm is kind of a high pressure round, but it doesn't have as much of a crimp typically as, say, 38 Special, because 9mm isn't usually subjected to a lot of heavy recoil because the recoil is absorbed by the slide, not the entire gun frame. So sometimes you'll have 9mm rounds with moon clips in these revolvers. You'll fire it, and the recoil impulse is so sharp, the bullet will pull out of the case, and it can go forward and even lock up the gun. And I'm telling you about, like, a jammed revolvers never jam, but man, when they do, oh man, it is typically lights out. I mean, you got to take that gun back to the bench. You got to beat on it.
Really?
it's rough.
Well,
Yeah,
so far I've been lucky.
yeah. I mean,
Of course, I'm not running moon clips either.
yeah. I mean, if you shoot factory ammo and you're not having these issues, you're generally not going to have. That's why people say revolvers never jam because, you know, you
And
know.
keep it clean.
Well, okay, all right, okay. Well, what's malfunction clearance on a revolver? No, I didn't say jam. Malfunction. Malfunction clearance on a revolver versus malfunction clearance on a pistol. On a pistol, you've got tap, rack to clear it, or if it's a double feed, lock it back, strip it, rack, reload it, close it, fire. Malfunction clearance on a revolver is pull the trigger again.
That's it.
If a round doesn't go off, it's pull the trigger again. And, I've said this before on pod, but people don't realize this. Like, well, I can shoot a pistol much faster than I can shoot a revolver. That's probably true, but mechanically speaking, a revolver can fire faster than a pistol.
I'm old school. I like my revolver.
Yeah, I like revolvers too. So we'll get you some
Well,
holsters.
when I get down to the range, you and I will have a shooting match. We'll have a shoot off.
Okay, we can do that. Can we put it on film, or do you not want evidence?
It depends on how bad you beat me. I mean, if I'm going to be humiliated and ridiculed, then of course I want it on film.
We will have a shoot off, you and me, and we will make sure the tractor is as far away from the pit as possible. And I can already tell you what the title of the video is going to be. The video is going to be titled "Magnanimous in Victory," because one of us will have to be magnanimous in victory, and the other one of us will have to be gracious in defeat. And so I don't know which one that'll be.
Yeah, okay. All right. Oh no, I want to do target acquisition times and everything.
Yeah, dude, the timer don't lie, dude. Or also,
No, it does not. Numbers do not lie.
When I used to teach, you know what the instructors used to call the shot timers? It kind of as a joke, and they would occasionally tell to the students. They'd call the timer the oh shit machine, because you get guys their whole lives. I've been shooting. I know guns. I'm here to get better, but I know how to shoot. I'm not a newbie. Everyone's like, I know. It's like. You show up at the Porsche Atlanta and go, I know how to drive. And, the kid next to you in the Porsche's got to be like, sure thing you do. You know what I mean? It's like, and it's like, as soon as that timer comes out, beep, and all of a sudden it's like, oh shit. Like you realize you got to, most people, and I get asked this once in a while. Like people are like, what's a skill I should work on? Like for self-defense or like, what can I be better? I'm like, dude, for real? The most important skill you can work on as a civilian, really as anybody. But the most important skill you can work on with a handgun is drawing from a holster and pushing out one shot. You'd be surprised how many people cannot draw from a holster.
Probably I would say quite a few. Mm-hmm. And that's why, I like a leather holster, and I'm left-handed, so that's why I like the revolver too.
Yeah.
I mean, the brass never flies in front of your face.
Unless the gun comes apart. I mean,
it's just like, did I tell you how stupid I was? Years ago, when I graduated from high school, I bought a brand new Remington 1100 left-handed. Kept it for a long time, sold it for a couple $100. What an idiot. Trying to find what a moron I was.
Yeah, because people don't want to make them because they don't sell them, so they lose their ass on them. So they're super small runs, yeah. But you face the problem a lot of left-handed shooters have. Like forget the joke, right-handed, wrong-handed. Like the reality is, you live in a right-handed world, so you have to make a decision, and the decision is, are you going to run left-handed guns, including handguns, or are you going to make do with what you're most likely going to end up shooting as a right-handed gun? And, I see a lot of left-handed shooters that just shoot right-handed guns, and they just do it different ways, including, bolt-action rifles. Like, there's a guy that I know that is, he's one of the best shooters I've ever known. We used to call him Speedy. And I'm telling you, this guy was the devil. And I mean as a compliment. And he could run he's incredible. but he's left-handed, but he's right eye dominant. So what would happen is he would have to tuck his chin into his left bicep to pull his right dominant eye behind his sights of his left-handed gun. And you would think that would be a disability. But he was so talented and it's such natural skill, unless you knew enough about shooting at a high level or he pointed it out to you, you would have never noticed it. And it was just, yeah.
Well, that's what's nice about a revolver. You could shoot right-handed and be left eye dominant. It's much more forgiving than an automatic, I feel.
I disagree with that. I think
We'll see it. We'll see during the time test. Now,
so wait a minute. In your magnanimous in defeat, are you planning on shooting a revolver?
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
okay.
But I only want you to put 6 rounds in your automatic.
Well, wait a minute. Now, wait a minute. Maybe I could call Kraft. I could have a leather holster made, and I could and I'll just run a revolver with you.
That's possible.
Or do you not want to have the excuse?
Hey.
That really got him, everybody. That really got him. So
my internet went out for a minute. Anyway,
okay. Yeah.
All the storms we've had, and we did have them over the weekend. 5 inches of rain.
Yeah, we've had some rain too. So
yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. Oh, about the tractor, is it in for service work?
Yes, the tractor was picked up Monday. Today's Wednesday. The tractor was picked up Monday and is now out of state, far away, and getting a front end cutter put on it. And so I'm now taking bids on barns and taking bids on gravel, and I'm hoping the tractor can come back on Friday, but I don't believe it will. So, I miss my tractor.
At least it's the right time of the year to send it away because the grass isn't growing as fast as it did over the summer. So it won't get you won't have to be in the Tibetan jungle, like you were when you first started, trimming that stuff down. But you sent me pictures. It really is looking nice, especially the 600-yard range.
Yeah, I went through and put in a bunch of time trying to get everything cleaned up because we have a group coming in on Monday, in 5 days, and I didn't want to risk not having the tractor back because if we don't get it Friday, it won't be here till Monday if I'm lucky, and then they're in the jungle. So
you didn't want to risk having the tractor there. And they aren't around somewhere. There goes the windshield.
Well, Spall, I'm legit concerned about that. I mean, look, shit hits my truck all the time. I don't care, but I got to be real here. I care more about that tractor than I do the Porsche. I mean,
that's because it was harder to obtain.
It could be. I mean, I think it's also cooler. I think a tractor is way cooler than my Porsche.
Oh, you're getting spoiled to it, aren't you?
Oh my God, I love that tractor so much.
I told you would.
Yeah, it's cool. I'm digging it. I'm down.
Did you practice mowing with your hand on the lever?
Yes.
And did you see what I was talking about?
I did. Because there was a moment I was like, instead of trying to shut it off, I just raised it, and so yeah, that worked actually. So yeah,
thank you, Danny.
Okay, hold on. Gird your loins. Hold on. Thank you, Daddy. Okay.
That's gotta hurt.
Yeah.
I mean, that has gotta hurt. It's like The Exorcist with the holy water. It's gotta really hurt.
Yeah. I'm sure that's great audio for the listener. Hey, look, I'm going to throw you a bone. So when the company came, the driver came to pick up the tractor. He had a gooseneck. And, had to come into the property. And, the tractor came with the Titan bush hog deck attached to it. Right. And I was trying to disconnect the Titan bush hog before the guy got there. I couldn't get it disconnected. And so he had to, it was tight and bound and I didn't know what I was doing. And so he kind of had to show me some stuff and we had to move the tractor a little bit. He was like, oh, you have to just take it forward a little bit. And okay. then he's like, okay, got this loose. Now take it back a little bit. Okay, and I got this loose. And he's like, you got. So he showed me some tricks of things that I didn't quite understand what to do and how to adjust some of the arms. And
Right.
if it's bound up, do this and that. So you
Well, there's
know,
also an easier way. Just put a couple of 4x4 blocks under each front corner and lower your pressure off it, and everything comes loose.
actually, that because he at one point that he's like, hey, you got any wood? I was like, well, over there. Oh, wait a minute. There's a clip. And then I said, yeah, over in the pit. So I was like, went over there to get some wood, and I got about halfway over there because again, it's a big property. And he's like, never mind, I got it. So he got it. So we were going to do that next, but he just went ahead and got it off.
Yeah,
So
that's always the easiest way. It takes all the pressure off of everything.
yeah, see, no one told me that. So, but yeah, again,
I did.
how
I
what?
just did.
Yeah,
You
you
didn't
just
tell me
did. You know,
that.
but you know,
I
if you
can't.
weren't
I can't be in two places at one time.
no, if you weren't taught something, how would you be expected to know it? Like dudes being able to knock the gun with your, hold the gun with your weak hand and then knock it with your strong hand to unlock a gun. Like, if you were
Yeah.
never, Grandpa never taught you that, how would you know it? Grandpa never taught me how to take a bush hog off either. So, it
That's true
happens.
too. But so now here's the question: when they return the tractor, are you going to be able to hook it back up, or are you going to have the driver help you again?
I'm planning on being able to hook it back up, and I'm basically committed to the point that like I'm gonna have to master that, and I want to make sure that it's even and just the arm. So I've been looking at some stuff and studying, and so yeah, I'm gonna hook it up. So, but also my big thing is I'm dealing with gravel, and I might need to get a not a Harley rake, but some kind of like a what do you call it, a box blade or something else, because I'm looking at having 60 tons of gravel dropped,
Just get a drag bar.
or a drag bar. So.
Just get a drag bar that angles and have them tailgate spread as much as they can, and then you just use your drag bar and shoot your own grade.
So
I'll probably come down for that.
well, you have to be down on Friday.
Oh, it's this Friday?
I'm probably gonna. I'm trying to have it arranged. Like I was hoping to have gravel down before that group came in on Monday. So like, I mean,
Are
this is
are you good enough at raising your bucket, tilting it forward at an
no fuck
angle,
yeah. I've been
and
using the.
applying the down pressure and back dragging it with the back of the bucket?
I mean, I know the concept. I've never back drug with the
There's
bucket,
only
but I.
one way to do it. If you're going to get 50 or 60 tons of gravel and it's basically, off a tailgate spread and not piled, practice, practice, practice. And then if you see low spots, if you have a high spot, you lightly take some gravel out, feather it in there and bucket drag it. Then remember when your bucket is flat too, when you're done, then you drag it that way, not with your bucket tipped at all and with down pressure on the lever.
Okay, yeah. So I mean, yeah,
You're
that's
gonna have to
coming.
practice. It's how you're gonna learn. It's
Yeah,
how you're gonna learn. Practice makes perfect.
yeah. I mean, I'm doing okay. I'm not worried about it. I mean, it's and
Well,
also too. I
I
mean, go ahead.
I expect you to show me things when I get there that I don't know.
I'll probably have to show you some stuff how that tractor works on the inside electronically. So,
Right.
but the thing is too, it's a gun range, and I'm the customer, so the pistol pit, like, it's not like I'm trying to put down a gravel base for somebody's construction job. It's a
Right.
pistol pit. Like, if it's not perfect, it doesn't matter. I mean, I'm not going to have it not be perfect, but you know what I'm saying. Like, it's low pressure. I'm the
Right.
customer. It's on my timeline and on my dime. So it's like
Well,
whatever.
this is a perfect opportunity. You're learning on the bush hog on the back end. It's a perfect opportunity to see all the attributes of the bucket in the front end and learning it. It's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
You're only going to learn by doing it.
Yeah, I mean, I've used the front end and the bucket and the pallet forks a little bit, moving trees and stuff. So, I mean, I've kind of got that. And also, when I'm cutting on hills, I got to raise and lower that bucket and curve that, raise and lower that front end and curve that bucket quite a bit to keep the
Right.
bucket low and also have it not dig into the ground. So,
Right. Center of
I'm
gravity.
I'm pretty comfortable with that bucket. So I've
Good.
got that
Well,
down. So
and you'll see its worth when you start flattening out gravel and back dragging gravel and things like that and moving it from high to low spots. You'll see. You trust me. You're going to say, "Damn, am I glad I got a front end loader on this."
yeah, I mean, I would never consider, never consider, a tractor without a front end loader.
No, it's too versatile.
I mean, like I saw large tractors, decent prices, big and heavy, but a lot of them because they were used for row cropping so big they don't even have front end loaders on them because either they chose not to do it,
Right.
or they weren't using them as utility tractors, they used them as straight ag, and it was like, I'm not like no dog, it's got to have a front end loader, and I'm not going to try to chase one down.
There you go.
So
There you go. Did you get a Massey Ferguson hat yet?
you know what? I did not, but I'm not the dealer. Like I wasn't all hugs and kisses with the dealer.
Well,
So
usually dealers throw in a T-shirt or a hat when you buy something.
my
In
de-
your
my
case, they
deal
just wanted your ass out
my
of there.
my dealer hated me. My dealer hated me. But you know what? I'll repair the relationship. So he never lied to me. So at least the other dealers were
Well,
lying. So,
well, there you go.
but
Do you have Are we doing a police blotter today?
I want to tell you a funny story out of the world news real quick. So have you ever had an airline lose your luggage?
One time.
One time. Was it inconvenient?
It was a pain in the ass.
So
I had flown cross country for a wedding, and all my dress clothes were in there. And let's just say I showed up in shorts, flip flops, and a T-shirt to the wedding.
Oh, you think I'd take a credit card and go to Kmart and buy some pants, dude?
Fuck them.
Okay, all right.
They actually did find it, and of course they brought it to the hotel as we were coming back to change from wedding clothes to reception clothes.
Well, hey, you know what? Hey, like I had a friend of mine. He was a Navy captain, and he had lost his luggage overseas, and I'll never forget just how well he handled it. It was like inspiring. I was a younger person and was like, God, he's so cool. Like, I need to be cool like him one day. And as opposed to fucking motherfucker, fucking how did he was just cool about it. He's like, well, it's like, yep, I guess I'm dressed like this. So
That's how I was.
yeah. So that's right. You were just like the Navy captain. So, well, the reason I'm asking, there's a woman. Allegiant Airlines is blasted for losing passengers' waterproof prosthetic leg for 12 days, leaving woman unable to shower or swim while on California vacation. And, you're like, Emily Tuite, Tuite, she, 26, spent her entire recent San Diego vacation on the phone with Allegiant Airlines, a desperate search to retrieve the bright blue bag she checked ahead of her September 1st flight. And so she's got a prosthetic leg below the knee. I would imagine that's her left leg, unless it's reverts. I'm looking at a picture of the prosthetic in the luggage. And, it's a waterproof leg and she needs it to swim. So I guess she couldn't go in a pool or the ocean or, at least fun-wise. But also she's hobbling around because she doesn't have her other leg to stand on. And I didn't even think about this. She couldn't take a shower.
No, that's really bad because most airlines want to get a leg up on the other one.
God, the dad jokes, unreal. So, but I never. That might be the title. I never thought
Well,
about a person.
It's a good thing she didn't go swimming, and her name wasn't Bob.
Oh, stop. But it's like I never thought about this. If you have a prosthetic leg and you want to take a shower, you can't be, especially like a strange shower. You can't be standing in there.
They have shower chairs though.
Yeah, but she probably wasn't planning on needing a shower chair because she planned on having both legs. And it sounds like this is a spare leg. Like I'm looking at it, it's more.
It's for water.
It's for water. It's got a rubber.
Right.
It's got a rubber sleeve that goes over a thigh, so it's a waterproof system. Like a lot of these prostheses are horrendously expensive, and
Yes,
she
they
probably has some leg that she's walking on the airplane with. But that leg probably cost $100,000, and it's got all this metal in it, and she's not going to put that in the ocean or in the shower. Like I just had never.
Did they have a reply from the airline?
I think they fail. They lost the luggage. It happens. It's unfortunate, but what are you going to say? It's not like it's not a crime against humanity. It sucks for her, but Maybe the next time she's walking on a plane, she'll have it in her carry on. But I
That's
wonder.
exactly that's exactly why we learned if we travel, the medicine is always in important papers on the carry on and clothes only on the check.
Yeah, because but I don't know. Like, would they even let you could use this thing as a weapon. Like, I could easily see some TSA agents like, no, you're not bringing this on a plane. You crazy? It's like, I don't know. Like, I don't. It was kind of educational, the story. So I thought that was interesting. So I tell you. So what is it? Lamborghini makes an SUV, right?
Yes.
Um, your son's not going to buy one, is he?
No. He waited too long for the one that he has.
You see those. Those Lamborghini SUVs. Like, I see them in Cincinnati. I think they've made more Lamborghini SUVs in the past 24 months or 18 months than total cars that Lamborghini has produced in the entire history of the company.
Well, yeah, because price point alone.
Well, they're expensive, but the thing is, there's a lot of people that want Lamborghini or they want Ferrari, but they're adults, they've got kids and families and responsibilities. You know how impractical these cars are. Like, that's why Lamborghini started selling an SUV because they've done it in the past. They had the LM002, which they used in off-road rallies and stuff, and so they were like, if everybody wants an SUV and no one's buying sedans, we're just gonna go ahead. We're gonna make one. So they made a whatever it's called, and like there's been because it's an SUV and it's got this big ass engine, people are already rolling them because it's not that hard to do. Well, the reason I'm asking is Ferrari has decided they're getting into the SUV business. Ferrari has a 4-door, or no, wait, is that a 2-door? The Pure Puro Sangue. I guess it's Italian for thoroughbred. It's an SUV. Uh, let's see. Ferrari unveiled on Tuesday the first SUV, the €390, $397,000 12-cylinder. So it is a I guess a V12. It could be a W12, aimed at super rich drivers, still not ready to go all electric, and it's 400 grand.
That's that's the big market now, or marketing point for the drivers that don't want to go electric. That's why Ferrari, Lambo, whoever it's driving these prices astronomically insane. Plus, there's probably battery problems. I'm sure that are going to
Well, yeah,
come up.
Ferrari has that battery problem. They already got the one car. Like, is it the SF90? Did we talk about this in person or talk about it on pod? There's
We
a
both.
Okay, so I'm not going to rehash it, but yeah, there's a Ferrari's having a battery problem with one of their cars, and so but I just thought that was and this car will do 190 miles an hour. And if you're like, well, what does this look like? It looks like a small crossover. It looks like it's a 2-door, not a 4-door. So you got to put no, wait, hold on. There is a Wait a minute. Is there a 2-door and a 4-door version, or is it? I'm looking at one that's 2-door, and I'm looking at one that looks like it's 4-door. So that's interesting.
Well, trust me, you'll be seeing that Ferrari tooling around the streets of Miami or Los Angeles before you know it.
Oh hell yeah! Like I see them. First time I saw a Bentley SUV was in Monaco, just going up the street. Yeah. I see Lamborghini SUVs here. It won't be. I'll eventually see a Ferrari. Because there's now a Maserati dealer here, and they use Ferrari engines, and so you can get them serviced. So you'll see more. You'll see more Ferraris here in Cincinnati. We don't have a Ferrari dealer like you have up there in Chicago. You got all of it up there. So we're kind of low rent down here. So
Low rent district. Do you have a Lambo dealer there?
no, the nearest Lamborghini dealer we've ever had was in Dublin, Ohio. I don't think he's still there. I think you can buy the cars up there, but I don't think it's
It's hard to buy any. It's hard to buy any Ferrari, Lambo, anything like that. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just ridiculous. Get on the list. Get on the list.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, we've been going for a while, and I've actually got to leave for a meeting in about 45 minutes. And so we're going to go ahead and we're going to toss this one. And I'm going to give you a quick police blotter. And I don't know if you've heard some of this, but you know what? I'm going to give a bonus one. So this is a pseudo hunting police blotter. Then I'll give you the 3 police blotters. There's
Go
a
ahead.
story of people that were whale watching, and then they got too close to the whale, and the whale hit the boat. 2 people dead, a bunch of people missing or injured. The boat flipped and sank. And I'm looking at this, and I've seen these whale watchers, and look, I'm not against watching the whales, but dude, a lot of these fools, they're so close to these whales. It's like, what are you doing, you assholes? You know what I mean? That's why I'm not on CNN.
When we were in Alaska, we went whale watching, but it was from a 2,000-ton cruise ship.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. But it's like
Or
these
whatever it
people,
is.
they get right next to these. Like, oh, I think the whale's going to come up here, and they're on a kayak. And I'm like, dude, it's like, look, I don't wish you ill because I'm not that kind of person. But it's like if you get swamped by this whale and get pulled under or drowned or sucked in, I'm sorry. Like, that's called death by misadventure. Like, that's not a tragedy.
Speaking about misadventure, did you see what the bison did to that lady and took her pants completely off? Did you see that video?
Bison sex crime? No, I haven't even heard of this.
No. They were going through Yosemite or no, not Yosemite. Where the hell are the buffalo at?
They're in Yellowstone. They're
in Yellowstone. I believe it was Yellowstone, and there was a biker group, and one of the wives got off, and she literally walks up to the calf. Well, Mama got pissed off about that. Mama started going at her, and the horns literally ripped the lady's pants off. She went flying in the air, and the park ranger comes strolling down like, you stupid idiot. You know what I mean? What do you expect? It's not a cartoon where they're friendly. It's like these are the real deal. Unbelievable.
Okay, and I blame Disney. I blame Disney and modern Hollywood putting human traits on these animals. And it's like,
yeah.
A bison is what? Is it 2,000, 4,000, I don't know, 3,000 pounds?
Yeah, they're huge.
I don't know what they weigh, but, they weigh what they weigh, and they can hurt you without even really trying. And it's like, okay, and it's a wild animal. A wild animal is not a human. It's a wild animal, and if it decides it's having a bad day or you're an asshole, it'll just kick your ass. And, if you don't want to learn this lesson with the bison in Yellowstone, I have a way. I can train you. I can train you on how to do this. Go into your city and just go to any fast food restaurant. Yeah, go maybe around dusk or dawn. It doesn't matter. And when you see a raccoon anywhere around the garbage can or the dumpster, just go pet the raccoon. See what happens. See how that goes. You know what? Yeah, just go pet the raccoon. And even if you're feeding the raccoon out of your hand, like the raccoon will, because they're smart, and trash pandas, and like they might even take food out of your hand. Reach up and pet it as it's eating your French fry. And get back to me. Let me know how, because he's so nice. He took the French fry out of your hand. Let me know how to report back to me. You could be the field reporter for John 911 podcast. You're like, oh my God. It's like, God almighty. Like animals, wild animals. I'm telling you what. I saw a video not that long ago of a bobcat chasing a squirrel. Have you seen this video?
No, I have not.
Holy fucking shitballs. And we have bobcats at the farm. At the John 911 range. And I call it a farm now, so they have a tractor. And
here, kitty.
this bobcat, this squirrel was working real hard, going up and down the tree, jumping off the tree, running back up, and this bobcat was, you really got a sense that if this bobcat decided that you were the squirrel, it would be a hell of a fight. I'm telling you. I was like, I had a whole new respect for bobcats. And I know bobcats, we've never seen them on our range, but I've seen traces of them. And, they generally are pretty smart. They stay away from people. But, dude, a bobcat could literally kill you.
Oh
And,
yeah,
I
they'll
mean, like,
fuck you up.
yeah, I mean, like, no, I mean, they kill you. I mean, it's like this thing, like, I don't know if there's many predators on the earth that are, more dangerous than any type of feline-based animal. Like, it's just a matter of size. And it doesn't have to be a tiger, just the size of a bobcat, like a 15-pound bobcat. Oh, my God. Holy shitballs. So, anyway, yeah, we'll save that for the next police blotter. So, anyway, I got 3 of them here. One of them, I think, is going to turn into a bigger story long term. One of them is a feel-good story, and one of them is the best story of the police blotter. You ready, Danny?
I'm sitting here with bated breath.
Do you remember the Unabomber from years ago that was against technology, and he was a really smart guy, and he was he was hand making these bombs, even hand making the screws, and he was mailing them to various professors and IT or technology based people around the country, and they had to
Yes, I
open up the
do.
box and blow them, and so they had the manifesto. It took forever to catch the guy. Well, there was a bomb that exploded last night at Northeastern University in Boston. It was a box sent to a person. The person opened it up and it exploded, was injured. I don't know if they're seriously injured, but it was injured. And apparently in the box or associated with the box, or maybe it was mailed with the box, was a manifesto or screed that was ranting and raving against Facebook and the metaverse. And it's like, ooh, this is going to be another one of these mentally ill smart people that's going to be doing the package bombs. This one, they better find this dude because that Unabomber shit went on for what, 20 years?
Right,
Or was
and
it at
now
least 12?
technology. Yeah, somebody might even be more technology savvy. It could be
Oh,
very
man.
scary.
Yeah, like they would go through the bombs, and like this dude was, I think, if I remember correctly, the Unabomber was literally manufacturing his own screws to
Wow.
screw the boxes together. Like he was so untraceable. And the only way they found him was they did a match of how he speaks in his manifesto to letters he was writing his brother. That's the only way they found him. They actually didn't find him forensically through the evidence. It wasn't until
Wow.
they were able to identify him and then they could match some of the evidence up to him and find it. But yeah, I mean, they never would have caught that guy. But it was how he spoke in his manifesto that got him. And his brother was like, "This sounds like this. This sounds like whatever his name. This sounds like my brother." So, yeah, that was a real interesting story. It doesn't make it for a sensational police blotter, but it perks my ears up. It's super interesting. The next one is a feel-good story out of New York City, and New York needs some feel-good stories. There was a mugger, and he
Wonder.
was in the subway, and he mugged a guy, or robbed a person. I don't want to be, I don't want to be uh, um, sexist, and does what dirtbags do, robs, hurts people, proceeds to run away, falls like off. Somehow he was running through the subway system, fell off a car or between cars, and ended up landing on the third rail. And he turned
Ah.
into toast. And it's like,
Oh
oh
yeah.
man, hey, there's a free one. Love that. Like that's free. That doesn't even cost the state any money. You
Nope.
know, it's like that's awesome. I mean, I hate to say it like that, but sometimes the Lord gets us all in the end, right? And sometimes the Lord gets you in your sleep, or sometimes the
Oh
Lord
yeah.
gets you with the third rail. So now the third one is, Danny. This is a true headline. This is a true headline, and I never thought I would actually read this headline. But when you read a headline like this, just understand it. Always remember it's China's fault. It's not my fault. It's not your fault. It's not the Queen of England's fault. It's not colonialism's fault. This is China's shit. This is like eating bats and COVID shit, right?
Right.
Nigerian authorities intercept 7,000 donkey penises at the airport.
7,000 donkey penises. Were
Chinese
they?
medicine. Chinese
Do they use
medicine.
a? Is that aphrodisiac?
I don't know what they do with it, but all that weird shit they do, it's the Chinese medicine. So and it's what it is, and it's like holy shit. Well, that wraps up episode 271 of the John 1911 podcast. If you want to see number stories or pictures or links of anything we discussed, please go to our website at john1911.com. If you have any complaints or concerns and you want me to send them to Danny, please send us an email at podcast@john1911.com. Remember, it's all about shooting guns and having fun. Everybody, have a good day.
Donkey balls with your complaints. Donkey penis. Christ. Bye-bye.
See ya.